All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Thursday night. We are now live. Big shout out to everyone watching the show right now on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. We have a great show lined up for y'all tonight. Some states around the U.S. are on phase 2 of reopening right now, and we have guest DJs on the panel that's from some of these states, so we'll talk to them about how DJs are going back to work in this climate and get some of their insights on it. So kick back and tune in with us for a couple hours. As always, our music man, DJ As1, kick off the show for us. Let's go.
It's a ill mind that's still time filled and refined. Still getting mine in the nine at nine. Geometrix 9 at 9. Sean J 9 at 9. Stylus Chris 9 at 9. DJ As1 9 at 9. This time is coming and it goes down.
All the clubs are being closed down.
Hey.
As
nice.
well.
Yeah.
Nicely done, man. Every week I'm always impressed.
It's summertime, man. Summertime.
It's helped keep me creative, man. It gives me something to come up with every week.
Definitely. Once again, DJ Geometrix here, and we're back with the 9 at 9. The only show on the internet where we have 9 DJs on a roundtable panel discussing today's DJ topics. This show is presented to you by Beat Refinery DJ School at Bach to Rock. If you want to learn how to mix, scratch, and make music, visit us at beatrefinery.com with locations nationwide. If you want to join us on Zoom and chat directly with our guests, just hit up that link on your screen, bit.ly/the9 at 9. Make sure to subscribe to the 9 at 9 podcast on Apple, Spotify, Mixcloud, wherever you consume and listen to all things podcasts. New episodes uploaded every Monday. So let's get on with the show.
Let's start it like this, son.
Let me introduce the rest of the crew. We got DJ As1.
Hey, what up, guys?
Next up, we have Sean J.
Yo, what's going on?
And finally, let me pass the microphone off to Stylus Chris. Take it away, man.
Peace. What's up, world? Thank you guys for being here with us. This is our 9th episode of the 9 at 9. So we're all 9s. We're 3 9s in a full effect. We've got a pretty star-studded panel, I have to say, guys that I personally am a fan of. Some of them I've known for quite a while. Some I've been a fan of since I was in my youth. So it's always exciting to have DJ culture has always been, in my opinion, a very giving culture. We give back. We love to be around the community and to discuss and nerd out on DJ topics. So without further ado, we're going to start running down these special guests, and we always like to run them in alphabetical order. So we start with our brother who originally hails from Boston, now resides in Scottsdale, Arizona. He's been DJing for over 20 years. He is on the iconic Scam Artist DJ roster, full-time resident at Riot House and El Jefe. And we got to say what's up to our brother CUTSWELL.
Yeah. How you guys doing? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Very, very honored to have you, sir. Next up, he is from Atlanta, residencies at Tongue and Groove, Cuckoo Room, Ravine, on Atlanta's radio station 96.1, official DJ of Atlanta United, probably the most popular MLS team right now in the league. In 3-style qualifier in 2013. He's the DJ City rep in Atlanta. Let's give it up for DJ EU.
Yeah.
The most popular MLS team. D. Keyword D.
Next up, he was born in Miami, raised in Nicaragua. Wow. Air Force veteran, DJing for 18 years, been back in Miami for 10. He is DJ City rep in Miami, South Beach resident, at Mansion, Set, Mokai, FDR, Rockwell in the 2010 era. Currently a resident at Wood Tavern every Thursday, Koyo and Blackbird. I mean, this guy is all over the country. He's constantly DJing, moving everywhere, open format. He is definitely one of these guys that I've been paying attention to for the last few years and love to see him play. Let's give it up for DJ Kaz.
Yeah.
What up? It's good.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me. Pleasure's mine.
Awesome. This next brother, I've known him for quite a while. He actually, it's not in his bio, but he used to spend some time here in DC, and we shared some definite good times when he was playing at the 18th Street Lounge a few times, and I've met him a couple times in the Texas area. But he was rooted in upbringing in Rotterdam and Suriname, so he is definitely a global citizen. His creative edge is steep and diverse in a lot of musical influences. He's what I like to call an open, eclectic DJ. He can just truly take you on a journey through all kinds of music. And fellow Texas Mark Spear from the band Krungbin, and as an influence of his, a friend of his, he's in Houston. He's got a bar, a club that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And he's also got an album called 100 available on all platforms. Let's give it up for DJ SUN.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Great to see you. It's been a minute, and I'm glad to see you somewhat in the flesh, however you want to call that, you know.
Virtual.
And last, we've got a very special guest for me. This guy, I think, for anybody that's ever been paying attention to hip hop, knows his work even before they knew of him. And born in Philly, spent some time in Boston at Harvard. Now in Las Vegas. He's a definite icon in hip hop for me. Music media entrepreneur. He was, really at just the crux of hip hop when it really exploded, and saw it on the ground level. He's the founding editor of The Source. He is the editor-in-chief of Q Point Music. He is also one of the dopest indie record labels of the time, Game Recordings. He's kind of got so many legacies. I mean, brokered the deal for DJ AM in Vegas. I mean, you could go on and on about this guy. We're so happy to have him. This is Shecky Green.
Infamous.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. That was lovely. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, we are all here. Hip hop lovers are certainly, in my opinion, at least, indebted to you of your services over the years, giving back to the culture, expanding the culture. Especially in a time before the internet, Source Magazine was something that I think all of us hip hop heads could not wait and couldn't just get enough of, reading cover to cover 3 times over. And so thank you for that right off the bat.
Oh man, listen, we just went with our heart. You know how it is. Like in that era, I'm probably the oldest guy here. Maybe a couple guys are close to age of me, but back then you just went with what you believe. You love the music, you're just drawn to it. I wanted to be involved, just like all the DJs want to be involved. It's the same kind of feeling that was driving us. Passion for the music, basically.
Yeah, there's so many things with those early moments of hip hop, and how there's such an entrepreneurial spirit that I think all of us as DJs can relate to. In that sense of, if you're trying to DJ, you're an entrepreneur, and you're certainly out there trying to do something that you love, but make a business out of it. And when you can figure that out, it's certainly a unique thing that a lot of people in life don't get to do. And so, that spirit has driven you personally, like, all over the place. You're in Vegas now. Tell us how things are there right now.
Well, I mean, as we kind of talked before the show, we're in a very interesting period because they're reopening some cities, and Las Vegas is one of the cities that's been partially reopened, and that includes some casinos. I'm actually at Wynn right now, which is pretty much the nicest property on the Strip, and I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest with you. It's very complicated, as I'm sure you guys are probably feeling the same. It's, on one hand, it's great to see things back in motion. On the other hand, I have all kinds of concerns about the bad part of what could happen. And so it's complicated. But obviously before the pandemic, Vegas is in a very unique place as kind of, I feel, the epicenter of DJ culture in America. Certainly the business of DJing in America. I think Vegas is the leading city in probably the whole world when it comes to DJs. You know, there's so many, before the pandemic, there were so many venues and so many places where there's DJs. Every city has something like that, but here it's like a lot of amplified amount. And so, you know, obviously all of those people have been working. The city got hit very hard economically, not in a health way, but economically, very hard. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people have been laid off or furloughed. The city is, you know, it's reopened slowly. There's a handful of casinos that are open. This is one of them. Bellagio is another one, and there's a few others, but it's, you know, no one knows what's going to happen. It's like Vegas, it's kind of gambling with its own future in a sense. So it's a very complicated time, very interesting time, but you know, obviously hoping for the best for everybody.
Yeah,
you mentioned like casinos are pretty much like open. From what I heard, I guess they all reopened like around June 4th, earlier this month. Are bars inside as well? Are they open to where they can have entertainment, or it's still?
It's beginning now. You know, basically every building is practicing social distancing. They give out masks. They ask everyone to, you know, wash their hands. They give out hand sanitizer, you know. But the truth of it is, you know, that the staff is 100% all fully protecting themselves, wearing masks, being careful about everything. The public, not so much. The public,
wow.
I'd say maybe at best like 25% of them are doing that. So, you know, it's about 3/4 people not wearing masks and acting like everything's normal. And it's weird. You know, it's like you don't know what to think. We don't know. Look, there's been all kinds of news out there. That's, you know, you don't know which direction things are going, but I do know that Arizona has an outbreak. So we're right next to Arizona. It's not good for Las Vegas.
Some people have clearly never heard the term "better be safe than sorry." That's all.
Yeah. And so it's complicated. But again, like I said, there's obviously, you know, for a lot of people, myself included, I don't DJ per se, but I'm in the music related, you know, niche here in a big way. And I work with a lot of DJs and a lot of artists. And so, you know, basically we all want to get back to work. We all want to entertain. So to answer your question, there's very few places where they have DJs here. Only a handful like are back, but I feel like this weekend maybe there'll be more. Last weekend was the opening, so this is only the one weekend now. So we'll see what happens this weekend. But very few are hiring DJs again, but it's very small.
You were talking about Arizona, so we're just gonna pop it over there to CUTSWELL because we've been chatting with you for a few weeks, and you know, if you keep up with CUTSWELL on social media, you could see a couple weeks ago where it's like it's happening, and it's kind of great, I think, to be able to see it from our side, from the DJ side, where we've been closed down for so long, and seeing, you know, it's almost an interesting perspective for someone that's, you know, getting back into what you haven't been doing for 3 months, and just you kind of go in with a little bit of trepidation about your health. But tell us what it's been like in Arizona from your experience of getting back to work.
So during the shutdown, I didn't touch my laptop the entire time. So I didn't download one song. I didn't stream. I didn't do anything.
That was good.
So when we found out that we were opening, I rushed to get ready.
You rushed to get all the TikTok. You rushed to get all the TikTok dancing songs.
Yo, I went through 27 pages on Headliner.
DJ City.
I did not go on DJ City. I was on Headliner, just catching up on one site. I just decided to focus on one. My hospitality company spent like a month building the venue up so that we would have CDC guidelines in place. Plexiglass shields, hand sanitizers at every table, hands-free openers on the bathroom doors, touchless soap dispensers, paper towels. You know what I mean? Like, but the thing is, how people, this goes to what Shecky said, how people choose to interact, that's up to them. You can provide them with all the guidelines, but if they want to crowd around a table, they're going to crowd around a table. We were not given any guidelines for capacity.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is that we don't want to appear irresponsible or unlawful. Even though we're being lawful, we don't want to appear like we're just not taking this seriously. So we did limit the capacity mostly to tables, to table sales. And during that time and during this time, the attention of the entire West Coast and the Midwest has been on us. Like, so many people from LA, Vegas, Chicago, New York, they're all here to party. They're renting Airbnbs, they're throwing house parties. I was at an Airbnb house party last Saturday with Carnage DJing in the living room.
Wow.
Like, it was like, it's not even crazy. And the house is being rented by Nigel Houston. Like, it's not to put them on blast, but whatever. You know, they're in front of 1,000 people, and they were all over Instagram. But
yeah,
so
it's already been there. Yeah,
it's already been there.
Yeah,
And
it's been on the internet.
The clubs are doing numbers they've never seen before.
Wow.
Like,
wow.
Where our table sales are, what would that be, in the 5-digit range, minimums?
Wow.
10,000 and up kind of thing for a lot of them.
Wow.
Big doesn't have that yet. There's nothing like that yet. I mean, I'm sure it'll get back to it eventually, but yeah, that's interesting.
We opened Memorial Day weekend, and it was like 7 days of New Year's.
Wow.
And any day that we could be open, we've been open. And because of I want to word this carefully because I'm not trying to sound insensitive, because I totally agree with the movement 100%. But we did shut down because of the protests last weekend. No clubs were open last weekend. The weekend prior, we were open on Friday, and every club shut down Saturday, Sunday. And the mall, which is right by the club district, took like $1 million in damage, basically. If not, I think it was $1 million in window damage alone, something like that.
Wow.
I don't know.
CUTSWELL, sorry to interrupt, but you might want to explain, because I know the venues that you play at. Your venues are not like your typical nightclub. You guys open during the day as well. Like, you guys have a day part. So maybe like
I don't want to get I don't want to rant for too long about Arizona, but
no, go on, man.
we have a district. We have a district that has like 20 venues on like a one block kind of like situation, and it used to be all like traditional nightclubs, busy from 12 to 2 kind of thing, black box nightclubs, cryo, LED, whatever. And one of them turned into like a patio bar that's like open, and they started doing business from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. And then every nightclub was torn down, and every venue is like that now. They're all like daytime, nighttime parties. So it's, especially right now with everyone being out of work and everything being shut down, and we're all technically restaurants, and that's why we were open. And the nightclubs that are still technically nightclubs are now selling food.
They're finding the hack.
If you tell a business it can be open, it's going to be open. That's it. And if you tell people they can go party, they're going to go party. And that's it. You know, people aren't going to gather together in some collective consciousness and be responsible.
But it is physically impossible to tell people what to do once they get to that party. That's the reality of it. That you can't.
1,000%.
Bingo.
It is not even possible, if you wanted to police every person that's in a casino or in a big restaurant or a big nightclub or anything like that. In a small place, you could kind of keep it real small, you know what I mean? But in a big place, you cannot, it is literally not possible to control the flow of human beings. It's like, you know, and that's why you see all these images from Lake of the Ozarks and all the other places. And it's like, it is what it is, you know? And I don't know, it's all in the science of whatever unfolds.
Those those images from from Memorial Day weekend and in Scottsdale with I think it was like who was it, Floyd Mayweather was partying out there, man. That was ridiculous.
I mean, no one got sick, you know. So
Floyd
I mean,
was out here.
I don't know. Who knows what the truth? It's hard to find the
people
truth.
got sick.
You know.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people got sick. I mean, I don't know.
A lot of people got sick.
Yeah.
That party that he
Amazon
mentioned.
is spiking right now.
Yeah, I mean, on top of like the protests and the nightclubs or bars opening early, that I mean, it's attributing to that
Protests seem to be a
spiked up
place
number.
If it's gonna spread, we're gonna see it.
Yeah, we're gonna know. I think we're gonna know a lot about our planet in about 3 weeks. You know, because the protests weren't just even in America. You know, a lot of countries had massive protests and people uprising, and you know, we're gonna find out a lot of data soon that's gonna push the narrative in one direction or another. I would imagine, but you know, the other main factor that we're forgetting about here is alcohol. When you're a little drunk, a little tipsy, your inhibitions, you kind of like, you know, fuck Corona. I'm not gonna get Corona. You know, whatever. I'm not. It's like beer goggles to beer Corona goggles to the 10th degree. So we're gonna have to really, you know.
Well, what do you guys think? What do you guys think is gonna happen? Like, you know, the cases are going up. You know, the numbers are going up. That's what I was wanting to lead up to, because like right now, Texas, you guys are in phase 3.
Yeah,
aren't you?
Yeah. So what's happening there is we went to phase 1, and you know, I have it from both perspectives, right? So I'm a bar owner, small bar, 200 capacity, and in our situation, to Shecky's point, we do try to control the flow, and we haven't really blasted that we're open, and so we're organically allowing people that support us to come back in. We haven't really done anything major social media wise, because we could fill it up, like if we filled it up pre-COVID, it'd just be over, right? I mean, people would just be on top of each other. So what I did, we've got a large patio. We opened the patio. We didn't open the inside bar. And then as they went to 50% capacity, then I said, all right, cool, let's open it up, but let's try to control things a little bit. And again, real low key. And there are bars in Houston. One actually made like international viral, whatever you call that. I mean, people in Europe were contacting me going, yo, what's going on in Houston, because of this place called Clay, where they just didn't really give a shit and give a crap. So what's happening is you've got a collection of like owners like myself, like-minded, where we want to be careful about it. There's some other friends that haven't even opened yet, even though they've got large spaces, just because they want to kind of take a wait-and-see approach. And what we're seeing now is like Abbott, the governor's pushing to 75% tomorrow. So that's going to bring people in. And I'll have a hard time telling people, yo, you know, sit down or whatever, right? Because you're supposed to be seated. And we're traditionally at nighttime, we turn into more of a dance situation. We have a lot of people at the bar. So yeah, there's that, like, I want to be responsible. I want to follow all the guidelines, but then you also have people, and I got to stay alive as well, right? So there's that conflict of, hey, how do I do it responsibly? And, you know, work things out with the landlord kind of thing, you know, keep my expenses down while I'm still responsible. But I tell my employees, look, what we're looking at right now is nothing is certain. So don't take from me that this is return to normal, because I follow the scientists and I follow my friends who are in the touring business, right? And so if I speak with Mark or Martin Perna from Antibalas or whoever else, they're telling me well into next year that they're going to be on tour. Now, if they're telling me that, that's kind of a guideline, right?
Deals are being made, yeah.
Yeah, the agents they're not in the interest of like, hey, let's keep you at home kind of thing. They want people out touring, because that's how they make their bread. So yeah, I mean, it's been stressful. And as a DJ myself, like, I'm going online. I'm playing at the flat and also going on the flat's the name of the spot, and also going on Twitch simultaneously. But I haven't really brought a whole bunch of DJs back because we could be in just a couple of weeks. It could be, hey, we gotta shut it down. One of the politicians here, the county, whatever they call the head of the county here, she has said that we might reimpose restrictions again.
Oh, wow.
And they're building a makeshift hospital by the stadium, so they're anticipating. And you just had the protests here. George Floyd was from Houston. So a lot of people came together for that. So 2-3 weeks, we might be back to like, definitely not Arizona.
I've got a good question
That
for you,
sounds
son.
really wild, man. It's yeah. Go ahead.
Isn't Texas spiking the same way that Arizona is? I thought that's what I saw.
It's Arizona and Texas, and I think Texas is 1 and Arizona is 2.
And
right?
North Carolina, I think, is really bad.
Yeah, I saw it this. So in all the news feeds, I'm seeing Texas, and then right after that Arizona, like as a topic. So.
It's kind of the blueprint that everybody's following.
I mean, it's the states that reopen, early, so earlier than everybody else. So.
Yeah, you guys have the timeline that gives everybody the lens of like, let's see what happens there, and then
you guys are
make our
guinea pigs.
But my question was, keeping in mind that I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and everything started to shut down here, at least in Maryland, the weekend right before St. Patrick's Day. So since you've got the interesting perspective, the unique perspective of a owner as well as a DJ, my experience of seeing people party on a big holiday bar weekend, St. Patrick's Day, was the first time we were all told you have to social distance. People didn't even really understand what that word meant. So were you trying to enact policies or trying to tell people to stay apart from each other at your venue prior to us getting through the month of March and actually when the lockdowns really started to get crazy?
Well, they locked us down around that time. So by the 16th, 17th, we don't do much St. Patrick's anyway, right?
Okay.
A little bit more underground, so it's not a mainstream kind of thing. So I remember the 16th, 17th, by the 18th, I think that weekend we were already shut down. And then by the 17th, 18th, they gave us some guidelines as to, okay, you can now, because in Texas, you're not allowed to take your drinks out. You're not allowed to sell to go. And the governor said, okay, we're going to relax those rules and you can sell to go. So we tried to set up patio only where people were coming in. And I'm in a neighborhood, right? We don't have zoning in Houston. Mm-hmm. So neighbor calls the health department calls police comes all like, geared up. And he's like, yo, man, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Like, he's giving me a lecture. So I was like, I'm not going to argue with this officer. And from about the 18th or so, we were shut down until they reopened, which is brutal. And it's brutal on all revenue streams. As a DJ myself, and then as a bar owner.
It definitely puts you in a really precarious situation because you have to carry the weight for any of the DJs that would otherwise be holding it down and try to make sure the doors stay open when you're allowed to get back open.
Yeah, and we had 2 DJ slots a day, right? So I do like a happy hour slot and then the closing DJ. So there's a lot of DJs that, are part of that ecosystem that we just like, okay, you know what? It's done for a while and we don't know what it's going to look like.
Let's move it down the coast. Kaz, tell us what's happening in Miami. What's good with you? I was really thankful for the last time I saw you with C-Flow on that webinar, which was
we broke everything down and it was super informative. We still have the link. We talked about Stemverter, and then it's pretty much like a basic maintenance on your laptop and just like little things that DJs need to do that people forget, So we did that and we had a huge turnout for that. Shout out to C-Flow for putting that together. So
yeah, he was actually on the 9 at 9 the night before.
Oh, nice.
That went. And it's crazy to think how different the mindset was for all of us during that time as it is
Right.
to right now. It feels like 6 months ago too.
It's
crazy how
the weirdest thing about all this is that time goes by really fast and really slow at the same time for some reason. Like, so that feels literally like 4 months ago, you know, when everybody was following the rules and everybody was locked in and like the most social distancing. So Miami right now is in phase 1, and it's been in phase 1 for like a week. They've been really, really like strict here with everything because people here just don't give a shit. And it's not even about the nightlife. It's about like going on boats, private parties, like house parties. Like there's a lot of just social interaction. And, you know, as that was going on, like we had a curfew. We had a curfew till Monday. So the last few weeks, as things started to hit phase 1, some restaurants, you know, like there's a few here that have a similar concept to CUTSWELL spot, you know, kind of like the high-end sports bar, bottle service. I played actually there 2 weekends ago, and it was only tables, you know, similar, like just either you were eating, dining, or doing bottle service. Nobody came up. Everything was, you know, abiding by the rules, and it was cool. And then from there on, we're still in phase 1. And then as the protests got more heated up, you know, that, like everybody else, that affected the nightlife, and things were supposed to hit phase 2 this weekend, and they're not until possibly next weekend. But as far as DJs, like I said, I did that spot. There's another spot that I did. It's, you know, probably 100, 150 max, same thing, bottle service / food. And it's been chill, and it's those kind of venues that are opening, you know, restaurant, like if they serve food and whatever loophole they can go through, they're trying to open. But in Miami, they've been really, really strict because nothing's gone viral yet. Nobody's like, there hasn't been that place where it's super slammed, or so everywhere is pretty much abiding by the rules. There's a lot of internet, you know, local, like a TMZ, you know, like a social media outlet for news, and people are always tagging them and they repost everything. So if there was a place that was going crazy at 100%, like it's on there right away. Like people in Miami here are about the gossip. Like, yo, I'm here, it's packed, it's slammed. They post it on social media, somebody's tagged, geotagged, and as soon as that pops off, the venue, you know, gets the heat. So it's been like that, you know, and I'm thankful. So like the gigs that I've done, it's nothing's like, nobody's approached me. Like it's been everything by the book. So we'll see how long that continues, and you know, when phase 2 opens up, like other venues that open up, how that goes. But
Now with Miami being in phase 1 right now, is the rest of the state like in phase 2 or
no?
Okay.
The rest of the state is in phase 2. So like Miami is like the fucking sorry.
So a lot of the cities, they're in phase 1 right now.
Like anything north of West Palm, like Florida, like, because we're not Florida, we're Miami. Like
so Florida going Florida.
Yeah, I was gonna say we had Koo on a couple weeks ago, and he's like, his famous quote was "Florida's gonna Florida."
Florida.
Yeah, so Florida, like Tampa. I mean, I've seen stuff in Tampa that looks busier than 50%.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's basically what he was confirming.
Yeah, everything over there is a little bit more normal, but people are ready, and the other thing is that the protests have been pretty big here, and a lot of the areas, like in the Wynwood neighborhood, Wynwood is pretty much like a Williamsburg, you know, gentrified neighborhood that has a whole bunch of bars and everything, and there's a lot of people involved in the community in that neighborhood, so there's been a lot of protests in the neighborhood, so that's slowing down, you know, either like for any venue to open up because there's so much, you know, the streets are so hot around there.
They didn't like loot that neighborhood, did they?
No. Some people tried. There was like on the first night, like some people tried, and then people were just like
shut it down.
Yeah. People take care of their own here, and they know that it's, you know, there is your big brands, but most of the spots there are you know, locally owned. So as of now, that's how it is. Wynwood hasn't opened up. I know that tonight, like a few spots have opened up. There's a place called 1-800 Lucky. It's kind of like a food hall, and then outside they have the DJ, and it's a patio. They're having the DJ for the first time today, and he said like he's like, yo, I can't get anybody in. Like they're abiding through all the rules. Like so that's gonna be another thing. Like like the homies texting you or like people trying to get in, and like there's if a venue's abiding by the rules or whatever, it's not up to you. Like you have to follow the rules if.
Cutting corners.
Exactly. So.
Can you get me in and give me all your drink tickets?
Never ends.
I'll carry your headphones.
Now nobody's drinking the cop bottle in the booth.
Ah, that's right. That's gonna change.
And now in Georgia, I think Georgia might have been the first state to open up. At least it was the one that was getting a lot of
bars and nightclubs, right?
So I think Houston, Texas opened first. We were allowed June 1st, but obviously Memorial Day weekend, all the urban clubs, by urban I mean like hip hop driven. So for those that don't know, Georgia is hip hop capital. So it's very, you have your open format clubs, there's one venue that dedicates themselves to EDM still, and a lot of the majority is urban clubs, very hip hop driven. 70 BPM is too fast. Kind of hip hop.
Jeez.
Actually, Cass has come up here and he's played, and we took him once, and he's like, I love this.
You guys They took me to a spot where it was probably like 100 people on paper max, and there was like 200 people, and out of those 200 people, 150 all had a bottle in their hand. Like everybody got just handed a bottle, like, wow. And I didn't know, and I was Shazamming everything, like, and I'm like, I was doing a lot of rap parties, and it was like, like mixtape drops, and I was like, yo, who is? I didn't even know. Like,
so Memorial Day weekend, I was seeing IG stories, and I was just like, it literally. If you would have told me those videos were from Memorial Day last year and people were wearing masks because it was fashion, maybe like Checky said, 25% or even less, I would have believed you, because it was like people on top of people. And I was like, oh
my God.
My concern was like, if there's a spike 2 weeks from Memorial Day, then it's going to affect us, like open format or the clubs that are actually trying to abide by the rules. There's a few clubs in the city. There's Tunning Group, which I would say is the leading open format club. And all the other clubs really look at what they're doing. And then they kind of like, oh, if TNG open, we call it their opening. We were going to open, I'm a resident there, and they were going to open last week. But because of the protests, we pushed to not this weekend, the weekend after, the 18th, 19th, 20th. For many reasons, ownership was, in solidarity with everything that was happening. Also, Buckhead was one of the areas that got looted very heavy, and it's located in Buckhead. So it just didn't feel right, so they pushed 2 weeks. Management there, they're very conscious. They don't want to do, like CUTSWELL said, their venue, they want to take all the precautions, but at the end, if the patrons do whatever they want to do, then it's what they're going to do. But I kind of texted her earlier to get their guidelines and how they're going to operate, so I could kind of share with you guys. There's another venue here in Atlanta called District, which I actually do a party there called Candela. It's a Latin infused party, and I average around 1,200 people. And it should have been this Saturday because it happens the second Saturday of the month, and I decided to push that party till July. Many reasons. Money-wise, it would have not made sense for me to do the party at 35%. It just didn't make sense. And then it's such a big party that me doing it at 35%, two things could have happened. It could have felt small, or it just, it would have not felt right, or the way would have gotten out and I would have had 1,200 people trying to attend because they didn't care, That's the reality of it. We might be taking the precautions, but there's people that are just over it. They're over it. They haven't had anybody that has experienced the COVID or the corona. So to them, it might be a hoax. It could be that doesn't exist, or that's another fluke. So you have that mentality. So let me share what Sun and Groove is going to be doing, which she completely shared. So they're doing 100 general admission tickets, and this is probably like 800 to 900 venue. Capacity is 35%. All employees and customers are going to be doing temperature checks. All staff is going to have masks. Everybody will come in 30 minutes earlier to clean and sanitize their stations. And then the cocktail waitresses, this is more for the girls, must be hair and makeup ready, so no more getting ready at their stations. Checkouts will be done in the club, not in the office where people are piled up. And as far as employee, nobody could get into the DJ booth. Mind you, this club was remodeled recently. Actually, CUTSWELL's play there. The DJ booth is in the center, and then we have 5 VIP tables, like in a V shape or a U shape, that go around the DJ booth. So half of the time, whoever pays for that premium table behind the plus is like, yo, you know,
play this song.
Or not even that, like you'll have the promoter that sold that table. Hey, I got a VIP client. I want to show them, and they'll ask your DJ, and you got a camera in your face. So none of that is going to be happening. And then we were also told that to limit our social media sharing, because they just don't want no backlash. Because even if we're following the rules,
oh shit,
it might not be. When you see it on social media, it might not be that, you know. And
that's crazy that a venue is saying that.
Can I ask a question about that? Have any of you gotten? Have any of you caught flack? Have any of you caught flack for going back to work?
I haven't posted anything, and then just because, like, I'll tell my friends, and it's because I don't like the gigs that I've done. Like I said, have been, you know, restaurant environment. Like it's people still like get up and party, and you know they're in their little booth areas, whatever. But like I just haven't felt comfortable to promote it, and then like my friends come and it's a group of 20 people, and then it's just like having to deal with all that. But you know, my thing is, yo, I'm like, look, if you take the right precautions, if you're doing the right thing, and you feel comfortable taking your right measures, yo, like, you know, work is work. Some of us gotta eat. Some of us, it's part of our, you know, like it's our income. So it's like, but if you're doing it at the right time, at the right way, you know, like I'm not out there posting, like, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't put myself in a position if it's a venue that I know it's not going to be following measures, and it's going to go viral on social media and whatnot. Like,
I haven't had obviously the share to post, but I've gotten a lot of text messages like, yo, when is this party, or when are you guys going back? Not a lot. And then there's a lot of like, hey, when are you guys getting ready, going out? But I'm not ready to go out yet. I just kind of want to know. So one thing with like my party Candela, which I'm not even sure if I'll do in July, but one thing that I did is I ordered 6 thermometers for myself, for like me and my team that throw that party. And it's also like, it's sad to say, but there's really a mind game. You're going to have people that are going to come out. They're already ready to go out. They're not aware. They don't care about or they're just over it. Like I said, I think that's the best word to use it, or they're just ready to socialize. I'm going to make sure that if you come to the party, you're going to be as comfortable as you could feel. Like, okay, I'm out, but yo, I don't feel no danger, or like it was like going out. And maybe those people, when they share it, or people will ask them, like, yo, how was it? It's like, man, it was so much fun. And they checked our temperature. There was space. Nobody was on top of each other. The whole staff was like, so I think that's something that every venue, like I guess in CUTSWELL and Scottsdale, they did is, you know, they make sure there was that. But once people are in the club,
Scottsdale's going to Scottsdale.
Once they're in the club, at that point, all I could care is like, yo, don't get close to me. I'm DJing. I have a family to go back to. I got to make sure that I don't bring anything. That's really my concern.
I think that's the line. I think that's the line that really crosses. If you've got kids, I mean, raise your hand if you got kids. I mean, I'm just a few of us. Yeah. And so it's like when you have a family to go back to, you think of it a lot differently. My son has asthma. So, you know, for me, it's hard to take one of these these gigs right now just based on the fact that if I, how do I live that on my conscience? And at the same time, if you're single and you have nobody to turn to, and you've got someone asking for your car note and asking for your rent, and you're like, man, I got to get out there and work. So, you know, based on what you were saying, Kaz, it's like there really is no right or wrong answer to it. I think we all have to kind of be mindful of that a lot. Is, you know, you have the World Health Organization telling us something different in 24-hour period. If the organization that's supposed to be the end all be all of the knowledge can't even get their facts straight, how do we expect human beings that need to make an income to get it straight?
Never been more incorrect information, misinformation, back and forth, flip-flopping around a major issue than we're seeing right now from the top. Not just our terrible president, but also all kinds of the WHO, the you know, what's it called, the you know, the CDC.
The CDC.
The CDC isn't doing any of the things it's supposed to do. All these questions should be. All these questions, we shouldn't have to answer these questions for ourselves. There should be a policy from the top down. Everything's closed and then everything's open. It shouldn't be up to the states. It really shouldn't be. It should be one unit for the whole country. I mean, it doesn't make sense. This virus doesn't stop at a border. It's like,
right.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't only go one way down the supermarket.
Right. It's like so, to me, there's a lot of weird. We're in a very obvious, needless to say, the most volatile time I've ever seen. I mean, I was there on 9/11. I was in New York City on the day of 9/11. I've seen a lot of crazy shit, but I'm just saying, like, right now the world is as volatile as it's ever been. And if you really want to know, I think everyone on this show is a person that cares. They want to do the right thing. They want to work. They want to make money, but they also want to, you know, be responsible. And we could go out and find 5 different articles that say 5 different things right now, and it's really nuts. It's
Not
like
even that. Flip a channel. You don't even have to. It's like just flip a channel, 5 different news, and you're like,
yeah,
what the heck?
Because there's no leadership at the top. It's saying this is how it's going to be because it's bad news. I mean, you know, if you want to take responsibility, you know, but look, then again, New York has kind of flipped their whole thing around. So there is a case by case thing happening in terms of the impact, as we know, right? But so it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it should be state by state. This is a very complicated problem. No one has all the answers, but I'll just know right now with the amount of different policies in every jurisdiction, it's making just total confusion, you know?
Well, and think about this. Imagine if this happened in like 1988 or something, where there was no 24-hour news cycle and no social media.
The best year for hip hop, by the way.
That's why I picked it.
Hey, we'd be better off, actually. I mean, I haven't owned a TV since 1999.
Whoa.
Wow.
So I just go through.
You're telling me you're not playing Call of Duty? What? Like every other DJ?
Yeah, I don't have time for that either. I mean, too many things on the plate. But my point is, you know, I try to follow science. I follow Michael Osterholm, the guy from Minnesota, Sid Rap. And then my sister works in a hospital, so I try to get as much of as much of the information technically, right, as possible, so that I can be informed about what we need to do at the bar or what I need to do when I'm out. And honestly, the masks protect you. In other words, if I'm wearing it, I'm protecting you, right?
Yeah.
If both of us wear it, then it's like the protection is there. But you're not really protected that much if someone's not wearing it.
Better than nothing. I mean,
yeah, just definitely no. So I'm not saying it's mutually exclusive, right? And that's like most people don't have with this short attention span era that we live in. Most people don't take, they don't take the time to even reason through that. It's got to be quick answers. But the thing is, if you think it through, right? So it's super spreaders, and it's people who are like in clusters. So that's what I look for in my bar. When I see someone, and I saw someone on some serious chemicals the other day, and
Super spreader? Was he a super spreader?
That dude was, yeah, he was a super spreader. And I had to, get his name and go, yo, Michael, come here, man. Like,
That's a good name for a punk rock group.
Super spreader.
Oh,
Sitting on a gold mine right there.
But in all seriousness, it's like you watch for those particular people. Everybody's supposed to be sitting down, right? And we're a small enough spot where I could try to control that. But you watch for the super spreader. You watch for that person who's like socializing with everyone, yelling it out. If you sneeze, and that's like 13 feet, right? So I'm getting all the breakdown of what is, and surface stuff, not so much. Like it's proven you're not really, so all this stuff about like wiping down, etc., doorknobs, yada yada, that's a waste of time for me. No, we do it. We wipe stuff down, but I'm not gonna focus on that. I'm gonna focus on the super spreader. I'm gonna focus on those that are out of skew, right? Like, yo, can you chill out? They don't want to hear your story. Why are you hanging over their table? They don't even know you. I've had to have those conversations. Or
so you're DJ, owner, security guard,
cleaning staff.
You got a lot of jobs.
Like the first thing I did when this income streams just shut down, right? And I went IG live, and at the end of the day, I was twice a day because I got people in Europe, and I built a following. I gained 1,400 organic followers in those 40 days, right?
Wow,
that's pretty good.
So it was 40 days and 40 nights. So I made it somewhat like
nice.
You did your work.
That's the new mixtape name.
But yeah. So as soon as the state said, all right, cool, you get ready to open, it's 12 to 16-hour days at the bar, plus trying to mix in whatever else I'm doing, DJ wise, like on Twitch. I'm trying to build the Twitch thing. It has become a kind of stressful, but because you want to be responsible. If I didn't really give a shit, then I would just go, okay, open the doors, business as usual. But I want to be responsible. The other thing is too, like places that are not, they're going to catch it in terms of bad pub and just a bad rep. I don't want to be there. I'm in it for the long term. We've been open 15 years, and so we're not flipping the club in 2 years.
It goes back to, even if people are not doing it, just making sure that the people that are attending, they feel comfortable and they can spread that word of, hey man, they still check my temperature. I got a little story. So my last date was March 14th, and I was doing my Candela party. We really were on the fences of canceling or doing it. And we were like, you know what, let's just do it. One last, and it had just started. And I remember like it was last night, it was 11 p.m. and a friend of mine sends me like this massive WhatsApp message. And it was like to high school friends, like we have a group. And he's like, hey, I have a friend in Spain that she's a doctor, and she sent me a message, like he forwarded a message like, this is serious. Like when you get home, this obviously at the beginning, just get home, take your clothes off at the door, dedicate those shoes, put it in a bag, wash it. And it's 11 p.m. I'm at the party and I'm reading this message. And I was just like, what have I done? Like it hit me. Like it because one thing is hearing the media, and I'm like we said, so much different stories. So what do you believe? But when you hear a doctor, a nurse, or somebody that's actually going through this and fighting this, like on the front line, you're like, this is more serious. My wife is a flight attendant, and she was supposed to fly the next day. I got home and I was like, Delta already she flies for Delta, and Delta kind of had already offered like the leave because she's high risk and all this. I got home at 3, 4 in the morning, and I woke her up and I was like, call Delta, take that leave. We'll figure out the money thing. Don't worry about it. Because a doctor had to kind of like send a message for me to, oh man, like this is serious. And it kind of opened my eyes. So when we shut down, I was okay with it. I was like, okay, it's like Sean, Stylus Chris said that it's like we worry about hours, you know, and that's been in the back of my head of how we open. And one thing when the TNG conversations about opening or the other clubs, I was talking to the talent buyer and I was like, yeah, I'll go back, but I don't want nobody in the DJ booth. Like, I don't care if it's promoter XYZ. I don't want anyone in the DJ booth. I need a sign and a dedicated security. And it's one of the things that they heard from the residents and implemented.
I got a friend who DJs for. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Good.
He DJs for Top Rank Boxing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a big fight company here in Vegas and around the country. And the way they're doing it, which I heard that some of the sports teams are going to, you know, NBA and NHL are going to literally test every single person as you walk into the venue. Do you guys know about this? Every single
I hadn't heard that.
Gets tested as they go into the venue. They have a test, which I think is the same one that the politicians are taking, which gives. I'm serious. It gives. There is a version of the test that gives like really fast.
Like immediate results.
Of course, they have it.
It should be. I mean, look, that's where we need science and technology to help us.
Yeah.
If there was a very fast test, it would be incredibly helpful for everything, including all these nightlives.
Yeah.
But basically, you know, there's, you know, that's what's happening in the Top Rank boxing. They're literally testing every person and keeping everyone that goes into that entertainment place, you know, sports, entertainment, same thing, is going to be tested. So that's a model that perhaps some concerts could follow, or, you know, I don't know, you know, entertainment as well as sports.
But what happens if somebody gets, I mean, if you get tested positive, like they automatically like grab you out and put you in like, you know.
They do what they did to ET.
Right, like just say, put you in the, what would the procedure be there, you know, like.
They make you wear a red shirt.
Yeah.
Like, damn, like you just bought these tickets to go see so-and-so and
yeah, I mean, more for
you didn't even know, you know, like.
I mean, more for the people working. I meant more for like the talent and the staff and the people. Like,
okay.
The public, you never, unless there's a very fast test, you know, we have to, you know, that's not going to happen right away.
The UFC had a bit of a disaster with that whole thing. I mean, they ended up having fighters that tested positive and their teams. And John Oliver did a really good piece on the whole sports thing reopening. Korea's playing baseball to no fans.
It's so bizarre too, like with the mechanical or the puppet fans and
the sex dolls,
cardboard and like they're I think it's the German soccer league, Bundesliga.
Yeah, Bundesliga. Bundesliga is in effect, and
they've got the sound, the noise pumping in too. Like when a play happens, you'll hear like and they're doing like the fan chants. They actually have the team's chant songs going on in the background, and but then those like weird cardboard or digital fans or Hollywood, I don't know what they're doing there.
I got a question. So, right, the Bundesliga, right? They're not allowed to hug themselves, right, as they score a goal, but they're allowed to like be on top of each other fighting for a ball. Like I'm like, when they implemented that rule, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Let them hug you. They just scored a goal.
Like, at that point, it's
they've already like rubbed sweat on each other.
Yeah, they're in the same locker room. They're you know they're living with each other at that point. It's like saying you're not gonna hug your girl or your wife or your kid when you're living with them all the time. It's like it's impossible.
We came up with a saying, sanitation theater.
That's right.
It's all an act, my friends.
I was saying that's interesting, CUTSWELL. I was using the same word. It is like theater here in Vegas too. That's the way I was feeling about it. It's like the truth is the way it is right now in Vegas, you might as well just have the clubs open and being normal.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're acting like, no, we can't do that, but yet we allow this, which is, like I said, 75% of the people are just acting like it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what's the difference? Let the concerts happen, let the clubs happen, let the DJs happen. Where they're drawn, that's the thing is, I mean, look, I think in this state, they tried their best to manage things properly. And up until now, it's been well managed, I think. But now that they're open, no one knows, you know, it's all like question mark. But
they're not going to slow down. It's just going to be like Arizona. It's going to be, there will be no phase 1. It'll just be phase 3 or 5 or whatever. And you know, what we're seeing right now in Arizona, from a stat that I saw, and like we all said, who knows if any of this is right or wrong, but the majority of people getting right now are 20 years old to 44 years old, which is not shocking, right? People partying, people going out, and they're not as likely to die, you know, or be in ICUs, but our ICUs are filling up. And there's a messed up part of me that's like, oh, you know, maybe the majority of them will get over this in 2 weeks and we'll get that herd immunity. And that's, I think, all that we can hope for. I don't think that I don't think the American economy is going to allow people to continue. People aren't going back in the houses. It's not happening.
You have to get 60%, right? You got to get 60% of the population infected. We're at about 15. We're at about 15%. So when you say that, you're advocating.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm saying it's what's going to happen.
Right.
It's what's going to happen.
Right.
My state is not going to close down again. It doesn't matter how bad it gets. They're not shutting down again.
And I'm afraid.
I don't think they ever shut down.
I don't think Vegas. No, we did. You know,
the club
did our thing.
The club. So my cousin lives in Houston, and he works at a dealership. Stayed open the whole time.
Oh yeah, essential business, dog.
It was essential business.
It's a joke.
Driver's gotta drive.
Vibe. So if I'm talking to people at the bar, right, I'm catching this vibe that I catch myself reminding people, hey, there might be a second wave, you know, when the flu comes out, and people think we're back to normal. Like I've heard probably 90% of people talking about, yeah, I'm glad it's over. And so,
just getting started.
As a responsible bar owner, business owner, if I start if I start presenting that this is over, that's irresponsible, because I'm giving my employees this false hope that, or whatever, you know. I mean, it's like I have to be responsible for my own business to like make sure that I'm taken care of for 18 months, you know. If it takes that long, it's gonna be interesting to watch.
Well, like Shecky was saying earlier, you know, like there's really like no leadership. You know, the World Health Organization, the CDC, is like it's going back and forth between this and that, and then, you know, of course, like the president, you know, he's pretty much like done with it.
Right?
But like, do you think as cases are going up, do you think, you know, especially the states that are reopened now, do you guys actually think that they're not gonna close it again?
Well, so what'll happen is, if you followed what happened in Italy, you know, where the doctor has to come into the ward and go, okay, are we keeping grandma? Or are we keeping
right?
You know,
Triage.
Those are ethical questions that you don't want to put a doctor through, right? And those are horrible things to go through, and the trauma and everything. People are not really foreseeing that because we're not there yet. But if we keep that up, we're supposed to have the resources to like get enough ventilators, etc. So hopefully we never get there, but that's what they're trying to prevent more than. So if you slow it down, then that's what happens. The vaccine, you know, on average, it takes 4 years to come up with a vaccine, and that's on a fast track, right? It's this
is part of our life now. So
and we're never gonna truly understand it until we're probably well beyond it, and that's even the scarier part is it's still a lot of unknown that we just really don't know. And instead of people actually coming out and saying we don't know, because that even brings more panic, they just give us all this kind of false hope or false information to kind of keep us on, you know.
Well, we're in a super polarized country where it happened in an election year. That's how we're in this situation. If it had happened in the first or second year of the Orange Clown's tenure, then maybe we're in a better situation. I don't use his name, by the way.
I like the nickname.
Thank you.
I go with Orange Julius Caesar.
Let's try.
Candyman.
I heard Bunker Boy the other day.
We're getting a lot of really good questions in the chats too from some of the viewers. So we want to try to, guys, if you're watching on any of our social media platforms and sending some questions, we will get to them just stay with us and hold tight. We want to kind of let our guests kind of run with how they're feeling and what they're discussing. But we have seen a couple of really good questions that guys have been asking.
And it's a good time to like take a break. Let's just collect those questions. But like right now, let's take a break from the discussion here. But we're at the top of the hour. Again, if anyone on the stream wants to join the Zoom chat, just hit up the link on the screen, on your screen right now, bit.ly/the9at9. As always, we have students watching the stream, so we always like to use this platform to educate. So it's time once again for our weekly educational segment with Sean J's Tech Tip of the Week. You ready, Sean?
Oh yeah. I'm switching mics. Can you guys hear me on this one?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So I was actually taking a look at the live stream on Instagram, and shouts to everybody throwing their questions in there as well. So one thing that really stood out to me is I do a lot of mobile events on top of the club stuff that I do. I'm going to switch my camera around so you guys can see what's going on here. And a lot of the things we've talked about from a perspective of DJing have been related to club work, but I've got a twofold tech tip situation for this week. So if you guys can see the speaker in front of me, bow, other side of my apartment. So this speaker is a Evolve 50, not a sponsor, name doesn't matter, brand doesn't matter. What I wanted to illustrate with this is that because we're getting to this point where we're starting to see a lot of potential smaller venues and smaller events coming back in full steam ahead, a lot of these newer speakers and even older speakers often have two inputs. So this is a part one of a two-part tip. And I want to connect the dot on this one with how you can take advantage of a minimal setup so you can get your gear from a mobile standpoint and decontaminate things from a club or mobile standpoint to get in and out safely and as efficiently as possible. So one of the things that people often do in a mobile setting is I'm going to take this audio recorder right here and pretend it's my DJ setup, right? So if I'm playing some music and I've got everything going through here, my speaker's on, typically what I see a lot of DJs do is they run a microphone like the microphone that I'm using right here. It's a wireless through the input of the mic input on their controller. So it's right in front of you while you're performing. However, as a mobile DJ, I know that the longest thing time-consuming wise is the in or the out, getting your gear either in or out. The thing that is going to speed up that process the most is if, as opposed to running everything and creating a rat's nest of cables on your DJ table where you're standing, you can always use your extra inputs. So you've got a line input right here, this channel, where I'm controlling the volume for the music, but then you've got another input right over here. I'm going to switch microphones real quick. And all I've done is run an XLR cable. And because this XLR cable is here, now I can use a wired mic directly connected to my speaker. And when it's time for the gig to end, rather than have to disconnect the cables over the minutes, this takes me 2 seconds. Volume down, XLR out, line input out. That's part one. Speed up your process by having less things wired together in a knot so you don't have to detangle as many cables at the end. That's part one. Now, part two, I'm going to come back over to the other side so I can get seated and get ready. This is something I haven't heard anybody in the DJ space talk about, and I wanted to make sure we put a lot of emphasis on this. Regardless of what happens next, regardless of reopenings, regardless of anything, COVID is a thing, whether you want to believe it or not, and you need to make sure you are prioritizing decontaminating your gear when you get back home. I've been holding down a remote DJ residency while this has been going on here. A hotel called the Revival Hotel, shouts to them here in Baltimore, Maryland. I've been going there and doing live streams, bringing a speaker, bringing my turntables, bringing a mixer, and playing a live stream at the venue. Every single time my gear comes back into my apartment, this guy right here, hydrogen peroxide. You spray this on your equipment, let it sit for a minute, and it will get rid of COVID-19. CDC has all the documentation to prove that that's there as well. And one more thing you can use this for. If you have a mask, you can put hydrogen peroxide in a Tupperware container, for example, put that underneath your mask, put the mask in the microwave. In fact, I've got a YouTube video I'm going to throw in the chat here so anybody watching us on Zoom can watch this video. A doctor steps you through this step by step. The evaporated gases from hydrogen peroxide will decontaminate your mask as well. This is something you should be doing every time you leave your house,
Almost like
Every time
steam.
you come back in your house from a gig and spray this stuff, use any spray bottle, spray hydrogen peroxide on your gear, let it sit for a minute. Virus dies, good to go. That's going to save you a lot of fear of becoming a super spreader. And then the drunk guy that's leaning on your gear, or you touching something that someone else was touching while you were playing, is something you don't have to worry about anymore. All right? So be safe out there. Please, please, please.
Dope.
Sean J.
Nice. So let's continue what Sean was saying. I'm really curious about the, you know, especially for the guys that's DJ'd out, you know, in the past few weeks. What's the experience like on that first night? Like what are you guys doing differently, and what are you guys improving upon like each night, like as far as like cleanliness and just like interacting with people, that sort of thing. Let's go with CUTSWELL.
I told myself I was gonna do a lot, but I'm kind of under the can't stop the flu if you can't stop the wind. I think if your guys are gonna be out there, you really need to consider the fact that you are exposing yourself, and that's it. And there's no all the, you know, you can wash your hands as much as you want, but like we're talking about saliva traveling through air. You know, we're talking you're gonna have to walk through that club at some point, whether it's to go to the bathroom, whether it's to be at the front door to get in. Like, you can be as paranoid as you want, and it might save you. You know, I encourage you to wear a mask. I encourage you to try all those things. It might stop it, but you're increasing your risks, and I think that like you have to just accept that. You know, I don't think that this is one of the most contagious diseases we've ever seen. I'm not an expert. It's just, that's my own research. And I believe this is a very real disease, and you know that you guys are putting yourselves in really dangerous positions by DJing. And I, you know, when I made the choice to go back to work, I also did interviews. You know, I announced it, I promoted it, I owned it 100%. You know what I mean? Like, with my company did too, and so did the entire area of Scottsdale. And like, you know, limiting capacity should help, but I just went 100. I'm in the mix. You know what I mean? And the clubs are packed. So I was also in an environment where it's very busy. Me washing my hands. I already wash my hands like 100 times a day. I've always have. Like, I'm like Larry David with that shit. So
yeah, I think we're, you know, that's the mediocrity is what will kill us. You know, it's either like keep us all locked in the house, or, you know, it's when you're, you know, I think it even happens in our own personal lives where we, you know, you're like seeing someone that you know and you're like, have you been safe? Have you been quarantined? And then they're like, have you? And you're like, oh, wait, I did go here. I did go there. I did,
went to the grocery store.
Especially the grocery store is like.
Yeah. Yep.
How about you, son? What was it like the first night you opened the venue back?
I mean, so we slowly did it, right? We only opened a patio, and I had information that, you know, if you're outside, the chances are not that great because it's you know, we have fans going, etc. So it was nerve-wracking, you know, to like make sure that, because I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know if people were going to resist a lot of things. I didn't know what people's attitudes were. We've been inside for the most part, right? I've just been going to the grocery store and I've been online, but that's about it. I haven't ventured further than a mile radius out of my neighborhood. And so I didn't know what the attitudes were when we first opened, but people were super well behaved and well understood. And I think if you lead that way, if you don't really give a shit, and then that's what's going to reflect. And I've always said shit flows from the top, right? And I hate to be 4-letter wording here, but everybody knows shit, right? So shit flows from the top. So if I set the standard from the top and I set the energy at the place and I set the expectation, then that's what's going to be followed until you find an outlier or a super spreader. And then you're like, all right, cool. I do have security, you know, so I'll catch my guy, or I'll do it myself, you know. But it was nerve-wracking. It's been a little stressful just to kind of watch going from 25 to 50% as well, and then hey, let's open the inside now. Well, what's that gonna look like? But we're now in a flow with it. Most people are very respectful, and if I politely step up and say, hey, you guys are a little bit too close, which was in the first phase, right? We don't do that anymore so much, but we needed to keep 6 feet at the bar even. Most people are like understood. I have to wear a mask because I'm asking my employees to wear a mask. If I'm that dude who's like, okay, everybody else wear a mask, but I'm not going to, then that's not the right leadership either. So my friends look at me and they're like, "What you doing with the mask, man?" That kind of attitude. But I get over it. I mean, I have a job to do as a business owner, right? When I get on the tables, the times that we were getting on and going Twitch and playing from the inside, people would come up and I wasn't necessarily wearing a mask, and I would be like real standoffish, but sorry, like I mean, don't mean to hurt your feelings, but you're not gonna spit on me, right? Kind of thing. So that's kind of been the vibe. I feel like people are normalized now, right? Until that shock announcement's gonna come next week, where our leaders, mayor, etc., the county. I don't know what she's called, but she leads the county. Miss Hidalgo is gonna say, "Okay, guys, back in the house." I don't know what that looks like. And then Abbott, the governor, and this is where we're talking about a void of leadership, right? So, there's been political games, like in the very first week. It made national headlines. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the strip club here in Houston, they purposely said, we're going to open because we're going to be a restaurant and we're bringing our dancers, right? And they did that, and it was well staged because they had their lawyer ready. When Harris County cops came in, lawyer was there. He's, there's like
having
interviews and stuff. It's like in the middle of the night in the parking lot. And then they file an injunction, and it goes to the judge. The judge says, yes, you may open. So that totally takes the power away from the city. And the governor doesn't back it up. So it's all these games that are being played. So when we saw that club that made international headlines here in Houston, they have a pool in the middle. Everybody was just like touching each other. No restrictions. That goes viral. There was a big thing about that as well. But the mayor said, hey, if I go out to enforce this and the governor doesn't have my back and the judge comes back, I'm wasting my resources sending cops to shut them down. So then it just becomes like, who's responsible enough to say, all right, cool, you know what, we're going to slow it down, or we're not really going to give a shit.
We've had almost that exact same situation here in Baltimore, where the mayor of the city said nothing can open. The governor said the state of Maryland can open, and nobody knows who to listen to. So then the whole thing starts to unravel, and people are doing whatever they want because they can't trust either side of the leadership.
Well, the technical part of that is the state supersedes the county and the city, right? So what the state says is what has to go, even though the city wants to not do that. And then the city can impose it until the governor says, hey, you're overstepping your boundary, which is what they've been doing. And it's like, so then you just have to be responsible for yourself. I feel, and I have to be responsible for my community. I'm in a neighborhood. I just got to be responsible.
He's coming back. Yeah.
Just lost him.
Yeah.
Can I add something about what the venues did?
Yeah.
Because I think it's important, and it speaks to Sun about leadership. My company wanted to set the highest standard, and they retrained all of the staff. They made a huge effort, and it took so much manpower to get it done because there was hundreds and hundreds of employees. And we created sanitation teams that go through the venue every 30 minutes and sanitize all surfaces. We have plastic disposable cups, straws. Like I said in the beginning, all the touchless gear. We do take the temperature of all of the staff. We ask them a series of questions about their symptoms, if they have any. You know what I mean? We send them home. Anyone with any kind of symptoms at all doesn't get to come to work until they come back with a negative test. things of that nature. You know, they're all gloved up, they're all masked up, like, etc. So they could probably do a better job, you know, but they really did do everything, and I just want to put that out there because I answered the question as what I did, not what the company did, and I am a representative of that company. So just want to make sure that that's known. He's back.
He's back.
Yo.
Hey.
I need to do T-Flow's, I guess, computer tuning.
Are the strip clubs in Atlanta open?
Actually, I do not know, but I wouldn't be surprised. I know we got a.
You don't know, or you don't want to say?
No, I don't know. Man, we are the mecca of strip clubs in ATL.
We want to know.
Are you guys the one that has like drive-through strip clubs?
No,
Like during this whole thing?
we just have the strip club in the world called Magic City. You've heard it in a few songs.
Is it true that the only 5-star restaurant in Atlanta is inside a strip club?
Yes. Allure inside of Cheetah.
Warms my heart.
Wow. Best steaks and wings. Amazing meetings apparently happen there. Never been to the restaurant part. One thing that I know, July 1st, concert venues are going to be able to open here, and I wanted to ask Texas where that was.
Wow.
I haven't heard that, and I know that they're hurting. And I saw a Spin article about the organization of like
Life Nation is not hurting.
Concert venues, as in like indoor concert venues, or like or just the outdoor for now.
No, it says
this is all.
Live performance venues may reopen on July 1st if they comply with extensive state criteria and a long list of restrictions on the venue.
That's in Georgia?
That's in Georgia. And then also as far as this July, no, there's actually an effective today. So bars can now hold up to 50 people or 35% of their capacity, whichever is greater. Salad bars and buffets can resume with cafeteria-style service.
Oh,
hell, my God.
Terrible idea.
Man, you know how much I miss Golden Corral, bro? No, I'm joking.
Well, that's what I want to know about Vegas. Like, when's the buffet's going to open?
Never. Conventions can resume if they meet 25 specific requirements. And then there's no longer a limit on the number of people who could sit together in one party at a movie theater.
Nah, fam.
They're just going for it. They're just in.
Remember how Shecky said earlier that it, like, I think you said that we should just the whole nation kind of run this one. Well, I DJ in Auburn, obviously Alabama, which is right next door, and I have a residency there in Charleston. And obviously during COVID, I did a lot of live streams for them, like takeovers, ITs, and stuff. Charleston opened before Georgia did, and there's this nightclub called Trio Nightclub out there, and they have like a patio area that I think they use usually for people to smoke or day parties. One of the live streams, they were able to open the patio, and they broadcasted the live stream through a projector. So they had like over 50 people, and I kept asking about their spikes and testing. In a lot of these smaller cities, they really didn't have such a big positive cases. The same thing with Georgia. Atlanta had cases, but a city about an hour north called Gainesville, Georgia, that's where like the most cases came from, Georgia, and also South, but also the population is a little bit elderly up there. Versus Atlanta is more of the younger professionals. So it's very hard, man. Like it looks like everybody's kind of doing and taking one day at a time. I don't know what I missed in the conversation. All I know is something about the strip clubs in Texas. They had the lawyer ready. That's where I stopped. I had to kind of restart.
That was that was kind of where we were going with just trying to see where everybody has these different set of rules. I mean, Shecky, with Vegas, this, like you were saying before when we got on the start of the show, it's like the entertainment capital of the world, the DJ capital of the world. It's also probably has more money invested in the real estate of entertainment, the DJ world of entertainment. You know, you would almost think that a city like Vegas would be really itching to get that capital flowing again, because there's stockholders involved in a lot of these places. What, you know, we know you've been in Vegas since 2003. You know, for the people that don't know that are watching, you know, Shecky has been a guy that sees what's happening before it happens, and he gets there and gets to it. And
Well, geez, especially since the NFL is around the corner, and you know, you guys got that new stadium for the Raiders.
A beautiful new stadium for the Raiders, Allegiant Stadium.
Yep.
Right down the street. It's really nice. Yeah, I mean, I think Vegas was really on the upswing right before this happened. Like, there was a lot of things happening. We have a hockey team. I'm not a hockey fan, but that was really popular here. And Park MGM also, which is an MGM property, obviously has multiple theaters where like Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars and all these huge concerts are happening like almost every week. And there was a lot of stuff happening with music and DJs always, but certainly like in the last year or so before the crisis hit. And now, you know, everything stopped, everything went to zero, just like with all you guys. And, you know, you know, it doesn't make sense for the reasons we said earlier, why you have to draw the line at clubs when you're allowing some other things to happen. It's all so new. It's only less than a week into it now. So, you know, I think no one said anything about opening any clubs. There are, like I said, a small handful of lounges that are open. And within those lounges, there's probably like a handful of places where they're booking DJs. But generally they're not. And it's going to be that way for a while. Certainly until, I don't know. Like, but then again, that being said, only like about a third of the casinos are open, and now they've announced plans to open a big chunk more within the next, I guess July 1st is another big moment when they're opening a bunch more. So, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, it's in my interest for them to be open, just like every DJ. You know, I want them to happen. I want the business to happen, but I also feel it would be really bad for Vegas and any city if they have to shut down a second time, as other people have said on this show. I think that's just going to set things back, especially Vegas, because being open is one thing, but do people want to come here? You know, we thrive, as everyone knows, on tourists, more tourists than any other city in the whole world. You know, so without that who wants to get on a plane, who wants to come here? You know, I think most of the people here now are probably driving here from California or Arizona, and other states. I don't think that many people are flying here yet. It's very, you know, the flights are way down. I mean, it's a weird time, but they did decide to open, and you know, there is, just like all the other people are saying, there's a pent up energy where there are younger people that want to go out, and a lot of people think it's fine and having a good time and getting drunk and all that stuff. And you know, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this unfolds. Obviously, and most of all, I want everyone to be safe, but you know, we needed something to jumpstart the economy. I mean, I kind of see all sides of the argument, because, you know, like I said,
very complicated.
Got really bad. Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah. I've got two follow-up questions for you, Shecky, actually. So one is, my understanding of Vegas, being somebody that doesn't live there, is there's a lot of union representation for the people that are working on the casino floor. That's the case, right?
True.
Have there been any union reps or union, I guess, statements that represent the workers on the casino floor about how, I guess, the workers themselves are feeling the reopening is going to go or is going?
That's an excellent question. My understanding of it is that those people are involved in the conversation about, you know, the leaders of the unions are involved heavily in the conversation about how they handle the new state, the new Vegas. And again, everyone's wearing a mask. There are partitions everywhere. There's a lot of things happening with the cleanliness, and they're also taking temperatures and, you know, all that. So they're doing a lot of things that you're supposed to be doing. But like I said, the public isn't. So it's almost like, and someone said this earlier, like when you wear a mask, it's almost like a uniform. I think I'm trying to remember, was it Sun that you said something similar? Or when you're wearing that mask, like when I wear a mask, because I generally always am wearing a mask when I'm in public, and like everyone thinks I'm working, that I work for the casino, because like it's like the only people wearing masks are the workers, basically. That's what's happening.
Crazy.
And like it goes along with that clear idea. The workers are trying to protect themselves. I mean, God, honestly and truly, and the dealers are, I'm a gambler. I play poker and I sometimes do other gambling, but I haven't touched any of those chips or cards.
Chips and cards, yeah.
Dirtiest place in the world is the casino. Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, the thing that I explain to people who are questioning, if they're not outright questioning, but they may have a question mark on their face, right? And I'm like, look, you see my bartender, he'll see everyone who's in here, right? That could be a couple hundred people. You're going to be in touch with your group, and maybe, that amounts to about 10. So he or she are more exposed than you are, so you got to work with that. And I think once people understand that process, that it's the exposure, right? Like they're putting themselves on the line, doing that, and we're appreciative of that.
Both ways, because God forbid, the worst possible scenario is that an employee is sick and then gives it to everyone else. I mean, that's what that's the biggest thing that everyone's afraid of.
Right.
So,
like not sending your kid to school.
To your question about the unions and stuff, there are, to answer your question, they are looking out for them because they have a voice. But I'm sure there are many people in the rank and file of people like the dealers and stuff like that who are probably not happy because they still have to touch the cards, they still have to touch the chips, they still have to deal with, even though there's partitions, there's people nearby. It's complicated.
That's a tough one.
Are they wearing gloves and stuff, I guess, besides the mask?
I think some of the staff is wearing gloves.
Like the dealers, but I could just imagine.
So gloves from all the research I've done, and I don't require my employees to wear gloves. It
doesn't do.
Well, you have to change your gloves, right?
Yeah.
Continuously. So it doesn't.
You're spreading the same stuff on the gloves.
That becomes a super spreader. If you factor in the surface as being that, and then the it's droplets coming out of people's mouths more than surface. So if you really emphasize gloves, then I think you're wasting resources, and people would have to, and the stuff that gets into your hand when you wear a glove and it gets a little sweaty.
It's not a win-win.
No wet willies 2020.
I mean, here's a business idea. Why don't we, invent a glove that just like there's a machine that changes your glove in like every minute or so.
No, it just needs removable fingers, so it's gloves with like multiple layers, and you just like pull the layers off. There's still gloves under there.
Comic style.
Power glove.
Why isn't there like, the business idea, and it seems like there should be one now, like I want to take a test frequently. I want to take a test frequently. Why can't I just do a mail-in or something, or do something? Why isn't there an option for somebody that wants to take a test once a week?
Because somebody else is making money.
CVS drive-thrus.
Well, there's also false positives.
CVS drive-thrus, free test, 24-hour results.
Have they really perfected those?
That's what you're getting in Arizona, you're saying? That's what you have, 24-hour drive-thru?
We have it here in Atlanta. But you got to call it and make an appointment, though.
I've heard the same thing.
You do it online, pick a time slot, you just go through the pharmacy drive-thru.
Right.
It's 5 minutes to get results in 24 hours. Do it yourself, drop it in the basket. It's very easy, and it's free.
In DC, the mayor Mayor Browser made it where all the fire stations you can get a free test. So
that's dope.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In DC, yeah.
You got anything open right now?
How many fire stations are in DC?
There's a decent amount. There's a decent amount. I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't know the number, but
there's a big white one in the middle of DC.
but with DC, we just entered phase 1 last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, but
2
there
weeks
was
ago.
there's been no DJs allowed, no live music whatsoever at any location, and it wasn't until I believe this is the first weekend coming up where anybody can DJ in a venue as long as it's an open air venue. Like there's still, you're not allowed to DJ inside. You can't have any live music inside, but if you have an outdoor patio that fits the health regulation of, DC is one of those places that when we banned smoking, I don't even know how long ago now. It's probably like
13
15
years ago.
Yeah, it's over long.
I know that because I'm a smoker.
Somebody's mad about that.
For a couple of years.
And so to circumnavigate the law, everybody made a patio, and then those patios would have a roof. So it's really not a patio, but it was like a patio. And so everybody that had a patio venue was like, sweet, I'm just going to open my patio. And then they were like, nope, you can't open that patio unless you have very specific codes, and again, serving food like a lot of the places have been saying. So we're more, I think, concerned with all the protests that happened.
Yeah.
Because it was just shoulder to shoulder. Everybody just took it. Yeah, Atlanta was like that.
And it's preventing a lot of businesses to really reopen during phase 1 in DC.
Right. Like I said, Atlanta got pushed, or at least the venues that I worked got pushed, or the conscious venues got pushed 2 weeks out of respect.
Yeah, in Miami. Same thing here. Miami had shifted everything, and the thing is that a lot of the protests have been in the downtown and Wynwood area, which are literally like 2 miles from each other. So these are the areas that are being affected the most, and these are where a lot of these venues are. So it's not like it's a different area, or so it's all in the middle of everything, and that's what's affected Miami the most, I would say, since all the protests started, because people were just going with the flow, and being treated a little different than the rest of Florida. It was like, all right, like 3 days later, we get to this phase, and everything was about to happen, and then Miami being the bigger city in South Florida, just it's a big hub for the protests. So
yeah, I wanted to ask you, Kaz, what you were saying earlier about how a lot of the venues are owned by, places of business are owned by local Miami natives.
Right.
What's the relationship? I mean, at least to the best of your knowledge, what's the relationship between, the club owners that have landlords that are like, yeah, I know you're shut down and can't make any money, that stinks, but I want my rent. What has been the the still?
I've heard rumors of like certain places kind of being in the air, but I think everybody's kind of been understanding, because it's at the same time the land and the property is owned, not a lot of them are owned locally. So Wynwood, it used to be a lot of warehouses. It was like warehouses, auto shops, and people started buying the warehouses to make art galleries. And it's an art district. There's graffiti everywhere. So they were doing art galleries, and once a month they were doing first Friday or second, I forgot. Art walk second Saturday. So then bars started opening. This is about 10 years ago, and so it's a very poppin'. Like there's tourists all day walking up and down, taking Instagram pictures everywhere. So there's a lot of movement, and it's just kind of locally ran. So I haven't heard any business kind of going under. Everything's just kind of on hold,
Yeah. But DC's been tough. They've been really tough on the business owners here. Really tough. They're trying to get a bill passed, and right now where they're trying to get funds for the city for a bunch of the landlords. The landlords are crying because they're like, you can't get any money, and so they're pressuring the venues to pay. The venues, obviously, we all know venues run just like it's month to month, like many businesses, small businesses.
Very thin margins.
You're ordering all your inventory and praying you get through it by the end of the week to order some more, and that's the flow, and it's been a voice of contention here, and we'll see what happens. I mean, you guys might know of the Black Cat. That's a pretty famous venue. Dave Grohl is one of the owners of Black Cat. They announced they weren't opening back up after this.
Wow.
A good friend of ours out of Portland Evil One.
Yeah, Evil One.
Evil
He's on
One,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Man,
restaurant.
that broke my heart when I saw that today.
What happened?
He's not reopening any of his
Shutting it
venues.
down.
No, he's just closing one.
Just Revelry.
Oh, one venue.
He has like a
okay.
restaurant, like an Asian fusion
He
one.
mentioned all three, and I was like,
He's still rich. Don't worry. Yo,
No,
I
but
have this random theory that living in DC as a DJ is the most strategic thing you can do.
How's that? How's that?
Best place in the country for a DJ to live, because you can have local gigs, you can work tons of corporate events, and you have access to Atlantic City, Philly, New York, and Boston within hours. And you can go and play those cities, build clients there, move them around to those different cities when you travel. You have easy access to the Carolinas and Virginia, and then you have very quick flights to Atlanta and Miami.
Yeah.
These are all really good areas to build.
like in the middle of the East
rep
Coast.
Yeah, the Mid Atlantic is a really good like area. Like especially when I was heavily I'm a retired nightclub DJ now, so I do a lot of more like mobile gigs. But like I used to travel down to like Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlantic City, and it's a good midway point. For all those, like, I know Inferno is like, he's always in Atlantic City, and, it's just they get a limo to pick him up and take him out to, like, Atlantic City, so.
I used to fly to DC and do the whole run all the way up the East Coast and catch racks.
Yeah. There's another factor to that, too.
Tuesday gigs, too, in Atlantic City, and Wednesday gigs in New York, and Thursday in Boston, and, like, be back in my own city on Friday, and, like,
One thing I miss from DC is Fly Lounge.
Oh yeah,
which is Heist now.
Heist now.
Same owner though, or was in the beginning.
It was in the beginning, but now Chuck left to go to different. So I do all the bookings at Heist, and it's certainly I've been there since Fly, and even before that, it was owned by the guys that own 18th Street Lounge. It was Red before that, which was like the classic underground house club. DC is unique in that sense. Everything you said, Cut, is exactly why you can build a nice, and it's a city where it's not so fast like New York, where you're just like, man, I feel like I'm flying off the shelf to try to just keep up with the bills. You can kind of position a little bit, but also you can, even if you're a private event DJ, it's the same thing. You can go, there's a big industry for weddings and private events in Charlottesville, or you can be in Baltimore, you can be in New York or Philly. I do a lot of weddings in New York just like driving, just take my gear and drive up the turnpike. You know? Shecky, what were you were going to say something, Shecky, before?
I was just going to say, though, to make it in all those cities, you have to get famous enough that people want to book you, too, though.
Well, that's where the advantage of a DC, LA, Vegas kind of city is, because it's a destination where people will all have a reason to go there for a convention or a destination wedding or whatever. And then when those people are there mingling around the city, that's where you have those opportunities as an individual DJ to make sure you're shaking hands and taking names and emailing people that you meet along the way. Because honestly, that's kind of like the cheat code to my career, was coming to DC 45 minutes south and thinking I'm branching out from there.
Well, this city, this is something we should mention, is like the convention business is a big part of why Vegas has money. Because conventions, they overpay for things. They rent out a room, they hire music, they hire this, they hire that, the food. They tip off everyone. They go to the strip clubs, they go to the nightclubs. And without all that, it's really handicapped. Like the core party, the core fun seekers, the conventions are a huge revenue stream here, and now it's gone to zero. So that's going to be the one we have to watch. And I think because of things like Zoom and everything else, the convention business is probably going to change. Like there won't be as many, and companies won't do it that way.
Do you guys think that that's one of the things that's going to be affected, like these conventions and concerts and a lot of these things? Like, what do you guys see in the nightlife, like kind of just not coming back at all, maybe, or
like next summer? I mean, like, I don't
know.
Yeah,
I'm saying, like the pool parties, in Vegas, like, if
it's got to be a vaccine. With the vaccine,
Right.
I think it changes everything.
Totally.
That's it.
They announced that there's a Johnson & Johnson is doing trials. I think like way sooner than they ever done before. Like I think
just rushing it.
There's a vaccine that they're confident on, and they're going to build enough of it, whether it works or not, so that if it does work.
Well, I'm going to put my money on Canada on the vaccine.
I second that one.
But there's still a serious risk if you rush a vaccine, because and that's why it takes so long, because it has to go through many different cycles. You got to be able to vaccinate enough people to know the side effects, etc. And the percentage of people being affected by side effects is higher if you don't go through those responsible tests. So that's, I mean,
not only that, we have this unprecedented, racial injustice protests and ripping open one of the worst conflicts, basically the core conflict in American history, which is the race issue, has been ripped open, and it's bleeding, and basically that combined with the virus is creating the most volatile, as I said earlier, we've ever seen. And you wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow Trump gets COVID, so-and-so happens, the White House blows up, this, that, the other, anything could happen. I mean, I'm not saying I want that to happen. I'm just saying the possibility is that things are crazy right now. Anything could happen.
The last 3 months have shown us nothing. It's interesting too, because I feel like, at least on a personal level, I don't know if the uprising would have happened without COVID, because I really do feel like we've been in these situations so many times and seen so many of these same scenarios, but we have already started to look at humanity differently because of COVID-19. We've as human beings, we've seen how vulnerable we are. We've seen, and I think most people have done some sort of personal inventory of what they care about, what matters in their life, what they want to stand for, what they want to, how they want to live their life. And it just, what we saw a couple weeks ago is just allowed for people just to really just show their pure emotion and say no more, because they're just like, it's time. We've already become so used to things that we thought we needed, that realizing we don't need it. And it was like, you know what, we're gonna once and for all, some of the things I'm seeing happening are amazing, like things I never would have thought I would see,
Like NASCAR taking the Confederacy flag.
I mean, Bubba Wallace is gonna have a Black Lives Matter race car on the track. I mean, that's
progress. That's huge.
I mean, even just the Richmond Confederate statues, that's been a hot topic for so many years now, and finally it's like, I mean, they haven't put down the main one, but there's a bunch of statues down there. It's like gone.
Yeah, they're coming down. Yeah, and U.S. Soccer, for instance, standing behind Rapinoe now, where they basically in the early stages of her wanting to protest, they said, "No, you're not going there." Now they're walking all of that back, and I think the NFL is going to walk back a lot of the kneeling during the anthem, rhetoric. So yeah, we're seeing huge changes. George Floyd, right here from Third Ward. I mean, he's up there going, man, I've made an impact. I mean, I had to suffer through it. Very, very, very violent way, but those changes are happening now, and it's horrible that he had to sacrifice his life for that. But George Floyd's name will forever live.
Yeah, he was a rapper. I think he was on some of the DJ Screw.
He was on DJ Screw's group, yeah.
Yeah, he hung out with with Screwed Up Click, from what I understand, but I'm not sure if he was a rapper or not. Yeah, he was a local basketball player at Yates High School, football player. So he's very popular in his community. People knew him. Steven Jackson knew him.
Yeah,
basketball player. That was one of his friends. It's just very sad, very unfortunate.
It's going to be heavy. It's going to be still a long way probably for us to truly feel the progress. But I'm happy to see. I mean, especially being in DC, where you know, again, we were talking about that before. I think DJs have a unique perspective of understanding and reading energy. That's what we do for a living. We feel the energy of a room. And for me, when I went down to the protests, I was fortunate enough to get out 20 minutes before they tear gassed the White House. But I was down there, and the energy was something like I've never felt before. It was.
Wait,
So
were
many
you there on the
people-
same day as when
Yeah,
Trump took the photo op?
Yeah. I left 20 minutes before only because my wife was like, "You better have dinner with me."
Bar tipped you off.
Miss
Bar tipped you off. He's like, hey, you might want to, back up.
Yeah. Get the step in.
Yeah, we were all on a Zoom call, just doing like our weekly
Doing our
meeting
pre-production
on
meeting.
Monday, and he was out there like out in the streets, just
Yeah. I took a lot of video. We recorded our Zoom meeting that day, and I was just riding around the city on my bike, showing everybody what was happening. And the thing that I'll take from it was there was an amazing amount of unity in the people that were protesting, seeing all walks of life, all ages, and the emotion was wild because you would see it swing from like, you know, hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot, and get kind of angry, and then it would come to something like beautiful of people just like in unity saying we're not going to take this anymore, and we're going to make change, we're here to make change. And then you would see like heartbreak, you would see all these emotions just happening in this cycle. It was like really something I'll never forget in that feeling, especially like, as the week built up, and then this past weekend there was the big marches, and those were more, I think, just solidarity of a movement. But in those first days where people were so angry and seeing, like, even in Atlanta, I know that, there was all the difference between the daytime protests and the nighttime were two different groups, totally separate from each other. And it was confusing the narrative. And so you even had some of that going on in there. And just the emotion was just, it was something I'll never forget. And seeing how it flowed in those times, you could feel it in the air. It was wild.
Really crazy for us, or at least for me, as as a human, the era that I've lived in. Maybe my parents and my grandparents lived World Wars, World War II, and all that. But I'm living like our first Black president, a pandemic, and then this. It's very very appreciative to a certain way that we get to experience this through life.
I think both
that makes sense.
Both the pandemic and the Floyd events are going to have a tremendous effect on our country.
9/11 as well. Sorry.
Certainly through, until we get the election, whether or not they let us have an actual election or whatever.
That opens up a whole nother can of worms right there. Yeah.
But beyond, I mean, both of these issues are so impactful, like that we are just at the beginning, honestly, in digesting both of these issues right now. And like, it's going to take a long time to get it all through the American system on both sides, on both sides.
But what it shows, man, is like, being, Obama being elected, and then, of course, the whole protest, the Black Lives Matter movement. It's great to see the younger generation really taking control and taking a hold of this. It's like it's amazing to see. I mean,
They've taken control of every issue.
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
Saving
it's
the planet,
amazing.
Gun control. I mean,
even it's impacting us in our jobs. Good example is we mentioned a friend of ours, Ku from Tampa. He just quit a residency.
Yeah.
Because the ownership made bad comments, and then so many DJs seeing if a club tells me what to play, change the format because of this. Mind you, hip hop is top 40 at the moment.
Right.
Hip hop's always been in the club top 40, in my opinion.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, before you will get the, hey, switch the music. I don't want that environment. Like, how many DJs are going to take that? Luckily, I'm in a position where I DJ, knock on wood, thank you, where the ownership trusts me on what to do. And they know that I'll play music, and at the end, if a fight is going to break out in the club, it's going to break out no matter what music you're playing, or it's going to happen, period.
Well, let's talk about that like real quick. Like I mean, how much do you guys think, you know, nightlife is gonna change after all of
Shecky could
this?
answer this one.
Musically.
Musically, I mean, like even like the, you know, for the club owners, the promoters, the way they think, and everything else. I mean,
I guess people will be more conscious of, this is just in the industry in general. You know, there's a lot of things that have been brought up, you know, just you know, like being, you know, the music, you know, the security, the door guy, you know, things that could be considered racist or are racist. You know, I think that a lot of these factors are going to be brought up, and people are going to be more cautious about, you know, how they conduct their business, you know, and it's definitely going to reflect a lot easier, because one thing I saw right now on social media was kind of like a while we're at it, you know, like, oh, like, you know, this, if this owner's racist, you know, while we're at it, like, you know, this venue did this and this venue, so like people are getting aired, like exposed left and right.
They're getting me too'd.
So, yeah, exactly. They're getting yeah, that kind of spreading, you would say, right? So I personally think that it's gonna reflect. I mean, hopefully it's a long-term change, but it's definitely gonna reflect on how some people handle their business and how certain things might be addressed. And then combine that with COVID, you know, like, it's if you have a small venue, you're gonna be selective and do only bottle service. You know, so venues that bottle service of cities or venues that were shifting out of bottle service more into more casual are might go back to do bottle service, to focus on that, because you're controlling your people and you're controlling your crowd. So that's your way of letting people know, hey, you know, we're taking the right measures, and you're restricted to your area with your bottle, and utilize that in the business side / you know, like COVID side, I guess.
Not even that, also the money perspective. You're trying to get the most money out of your patrons now, because you have a smaller group.
Right.
You're trying to make, if a club made $30,000, let's say a night, club is going to try to make $30,000 out of 300 people, but before they used to do it with 800 people.
Right, exactly. And I actually had that theory. I tweeted it the other day that like very limited bottle service is gonna be a thing. You know, small rooms, like New York style rooms that in Miami we don't really have that many of those. You still have them, but they're
Where
not
the real ballers at. That's what this is gonna prove right now.
But and that's what I'm saying, and that's where I'm getting at. Like, I think it's gonna trim the fat of a lot of people that, you know, were maybe chipping in. Like, people in Miami, you have venues that cater only to bottle service guys, and I call it like adult Chuck E. Cheese, because you go in there, you have your tokens, you know what you want, and they'll bring you a bottle. They'll bring you a bottle of Moet from the roof if you pay, like, you know, and they'll play the Russian anthem. Like, they don't care. Like, so these kind of parties where these old crusty clients, you know, get their ego stroked by spending all this money, are going to become a huge thing, because they're going to have the money to buy those bottles and be catered to that environment. So that's something that I definitely see happening, and I've already seen happening. I've seen flyers that say reservation only, you know, bottle service only, to restrict, you know, guidelines, but they're also going to like rake up the prices. So it's definitely something that we're going to see.
I have a question that Shecky might be able to answer. Do you think New York venues are going to go back to being super strict at the door?
Well, I think there's an interesting point being brought up about the exclusivity of, if there only are a small amount of spaces, then those spaces become more valuable, and that idea is kind of happening. It also reminds me of Tokyo. If anyone here has ever been to Tokyo, you know, one of the greatest cities, you know, they have all these really small places that are like the coolest places. There might be like literally like 5 seats, and that's like the place everyone wants to, you know, and there's a lot of them, but you have to all like tucked away in like secret place. It's kind of getting back to that. In general, there already was a movement towards smaller venues. That was happening in Vegas already. Over the last year or two, the medium and small venues were on the rise, and the big venues were on the way out. The biggest example was, you might have heard about Chaos at the Palms, which was a giant club that went bust really fast. And that was marked as like the top of the bubble, you know, that's the popping of the bubble kind of thing. But like, yeah, there already was a movement towards smaller places. And I think that given the reality of as everyone keeps saying, until there is a vaccine, there may not be another nightclub anywhere. Like, I don't know.
It'll be a nightclub, but we just limit it. Sorry.
Or, yeah, like a third full or half full.
Yeah, but that brings up a whole nother can of worms, because it's like nobody wants to walk into a venue that's not packed. It's kind of the whole society movement of like, if you go to a club that has 3 or 4 rooms and one room is not really popping, you're like, all right, let me go find the room that is. It's counterculture to the whole
the energy and the vibe is not going to be the same no matter what you try to fulfill.
I feel like I'm just listening to this conversation. I'm on the complete other side of this spectrum, because we're small. Our capacity is officially 68. I mean, we put more in, and we've got a large patio. So, I mean, at our place, we can make it work with good furniture. You know, sort of like ESL, right?
Yeah.
But ESL is multi-layered. But if you go up to the 3rd level, that's kind of what the flat might look like. Mid-century modern theme, you know, furniture that we can kind of move around. And if we move it in the right spot, then it's actually comfortable for people to come in and they feel, but so you can make it work. And also the repurposing of the business, it's a huge eye opener. So I'm looking at a coffee program to be able to open up at 7, but not just be that, just also be a lifestyle kind of thing that lends itself, complements itself to what we're doing at night. And I'm wanting to bring my vinyl in there, you know, and not be a vinyl bar like the trend is right now, but just have some vinyl nights, because I felt like I had a lot of impact just kind of communicating on IG Live when I was playing, and I was communicating about the records that I was playing. And I think that can translate to an early, and to the point of bottle service. We don't do bottle service, right? It's just, it's
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I mean, we're underground, right? So we're not necessarily doing that. But at this point, I'm considering, you know, a membership where you buy a premium and you want to see Mark from Krungbin, who's already committed to playing vinyl if I set it all up. He comes in for a night, plays his vinyl, and the way you can actually see that is you either buy a membership on a streaming deal, or you're in there on a bottle, right? But your bottle gets locked up in a locker kind of thing. And as long as you have that bottle, you can come in and you can come to these special shows.
Well, guys, not to interrupt, like, you know, Sun over here, but like, it's pretty much our 2 hours is pretty much up. It's time to wrap up the show. I mean, we can talk about this forever. Hope everyone on the panel enjoyed themselves, and hope everyone on the stream liked this episode. You know, let's take some time for our guests to plug anything they have going on, promote whatever you like, fellas. Starting with Sun.
All right. So I've had to delay my record. It's called Love Letter. You can go to Spotify and catch 100. I put that out in 2013. So
it's dope.
I appreciate that.
It's really dope.
Thank you. Different lane, you know. I mean, it's
always. You've been in your lane for as long as I've known you, and it's inspiring to me. It made me, you know that because we share a lot of the same musical tastes, and I've always appreciated you for that.
The Love Letter coming out whenever this is all over, and then look for me on Twitch as well, and of course follow me on Instagram, DJ Sun. If you're in Houston, come see us at the Flat.
Dope.
I love Houston.
Kaz?
My Instagram at DJ KA5. That's where I do most of my networking. And then Twitter at DJ_KA5. That's where I talk a lot of shit and get spicy. And then edits. A lot of y'all, some of y'all might have my edits. I put out free edits. All you have to do is DM me on Instagram at DJ KA5, and I will send you like 1,600 edits that I've done.
Who got that big pack and still organizing that big cat pack?
So
still like
any DJ that doesn't have them, just send me and I'll send you the link to my Dropbox. And then in my radio podcast I do with DJ Zaya, it's Miami from our eyes, a view of like working DJs that has done pretty much everything around the city. We also showcase different Miami people that have been involved in the nightlife or are something important to Miami, and it's just the real Miami shit. So
word, nice. EU.
Thank you for having me. Let's start with that. It was, man, such an honor to be among all these legends and friends over like social media. Like somebody said, like the DJ community is something you might not meet somebody in person, but you're like super homies over social media, and it's like you've known each other. I'm gonna answer a quick question that somebody asked on the chat, if you guys don't mind. That
sure.
Doc actually asked me to answer. So somebody asked, thinking outside the box, would it make sense to sell a venue on a digital DJ set? They pay you for the set and it's not live entertainment, but it is live entertainment. I have friends in Auburn that the bars are open, they're fully open, but if they put live entertainment, like if they put a DJ or band, then the capacity has to go down. But as long as it's a bar, so the ownership is paying them to go in there and pretty much program a Spotify playlist or kind of do mixes and stuff. So there is a way of still making money if you are working in those situations, just, you know, making your self valuable to the bar or to wherever you work. And as far as I think I put my IG handle at, or I had to reset it, at the DJ EU, and then Twitter is DJ EU, and nothing. I'm doing like every other DJ, Twitch show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Trying to have fun. Obviously, that started as that's the only thing we had, and with the platform being so cool and invested so much into the live stream through COVID, that I'm just going to continue doing it. And good luck to DC United on this tournament, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
Same to Atlanta United, definitely.
Thank you.
Shecky?
I love all the soccer talk. I'm a big Premier League guy myself.
I gotta get you an Atlanta United jersey, Checky.
I've watched some of them. I've seen them play. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's best-selling jersey.
You know, on the note that EU was saying, what I do now primarily, and I work with Chris Stylus, also is work on background music and programming music for venues. We have a company called Playback Prodigy, based here in Las Vegas. We work with all of the major casinos, many of them Bellagio, here at Wynn, Park MGM, you know, Mandalay Bay. We provide music for what you hear when you're in the casino, what you hear in the lounges, what you hear in the restaurants, at the pool, at the gym. You know, we've built it. I've been doing this for like 4 years now. You know, if anyone here who's a DJ, who's interested in getting into that business, maybe in your town where you are, please hit me up. The primary thing that I do is Twitter, at Shecky Green, and please come talk to me if you have any interest in doing what was just being mentioned about background music or programming, because we work with a ton of DJs, and we basically collaborate with them, provide all the hardware and software that you need to basically control a whole restaurant from your crib. You can do it from any computer. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from anywhere. You basically create your set and let it play, and you can make changes. You can listen, you know. So I'm happy to show anyone around about that. And other than that, you know, I wish everyone well. This has been a pleasure, just like others have saying, and stay safe.
Awesome.
I actually did a playlist for Benny C had hit me up. So
yeah,
I did one for you.
Shout out to Benny C.
Benny.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben Cohen. That's my partner, Benny C. We are, and that's good to hear. I kind of remember actually. You mentioned
it was a Latin one, so I'll hit you up because I'm definitely interested. So we'll talk on the side.
Let's build, because yeah, we definitely have a lot of great DJ partners, and it's basically, we make it very easy for a DJ to take control of the music when they're not a DJing.
Right.
It's really dope. It's a game changer.
Same, same out. You'll be hearing from me because I did it for a few restaurants, and to me it was more of like either I have the time, sometimes I don't have the time, and also like pricing it. To be honest, it's really more of the questioning because it takes time. I feel like it takes longer to do that than to me do a mix for myself, kind of thing.
You know what? It's not a get rich quick scheme. That's the truth.
No, it really isn't.
It's not. It's
not. No one wants to spend. They want to spend X amount for a live DJ, but for background music, it's basically like take it down from there.
But it was that. It was just more like, man, I don't want to overcharge them, but then I don't want to undercut somebody that's like you guys that are actually that dedicate this to it. So there was like, what's the really right price? But at the end, I had made a mix for a friend's restaurant, and I just gave him that. And I honestly think his clientele has to be bored of that mix because he hasn't asked for anything else.
One pre-recorded mix cannot last very long. That's the reason. That's why we use a lot of individual. We can do a mix, but it's kind of better to do individual songs. That way you can mix.
Yeah, 100%. No, the staff will know this song is coming next.
What about you, CUTSWELL?
Yo, nothing to plug. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is awesome. I've never done anything like this. I haven't even been on Zoom before, so it's great.
So what's the first for something?
Man, you were the most comfortable dude.
I know, man.
Lounging, man.
Just chilling.
Lounging.
For the record, this is the first show where I told myself to stand. I was like, you know what? When I go DJ, I stand for like 4 or 5 hours anyways. Like, I could stand for 2 hours. My feet are killing me. I'm looking at CUTSWELL so relaxed. I'm like, damn, I
got one more question for CUTSWELL. CUTSWELL, how was it to get back into the mentality? Because that's more of like, the other day I was like, man, am I ready to like, you know,
5 minutes.
like, no, but like with the music, like you hadn't downloaded music.
I was gonna ask.
Is the box still the hit?
20 to 30 hours of live performance a week for like 11 years.
Yeah, miss it.
Minimum that number, you know. Sundays I've been doing 9-hour sets every Sunday for 7 years.
Oh.
So dude, it's a bicycle, man. That's why I took the time off. I was like, fuck this. Excuse me.
It's fine.
No, I meant it more on the music.
I'm taking this time. I'm taking this me time.
No. I think for us DJ, it was the vacation that a lot of us probably needed, where the whole DJ community stopped, and you didn't have to think of like, yo, somebody might hustle me, or yo, this DJ is getting more traction. Like, you know, club DJs mentality. Like, I don't want to lose this residency, or am I up to with the music? But it's really up to the music, which is the conversation I've been seeing on Twitter. It's like, what are the hits?
Yeah. So when I played, like, you could tell that like certain songs haven't marinated or haven't been played out, you know? Yeah. So it's like even like Zafaera, which is, you know,
it's old, but
that would be kind of considered like one of the biggest records here. Yeah. Like people just don't know how to like react to it. Even like Ella Perrea Sola, like stuff like that it's like hits, but like people are just like, damn,
it's so new to them.
Yeah, like even like Savage, like was kind of weird, like and even like incorporating it. And I even looked at people like, yo, I mean, people gonna do this dance, like, and people were kind of just like, you could tell some girls like wanted
Savage
to do
is gonna turn into a line dance.
That's what I'm saying. But like
every wedding, Savage.
Yo, I saw girls like trying to like hold themselves back from doing the dances, and then other people were like, man, like, do I dance normally, or like, what do I do?
Do it,
so it's just, I think that some of the songs will just take time to build in the club, you know. It's just, we literally just open the door and you expect people to react, you know.
I did a private party during Labor Day weekend. I did a boat party at the lake, and kind of restricted. I was like, yo, I need to be apart from everyone just because it was so new, but it was Latin based, and legit, I was playing new music. Like, I thought there was like, yo, like this song came out like Thursday, and it bangs, like this is gonna be it. And I played it, and it was like, okay, let me go back to the songs that were, and it was like, okay, we're still stuck 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed.
That's exactly how it was.
It felt like, all right, people paused. I was like, oh no, I haven't danced
this
song enough. I'm gonna keep it in my pocket, and when we come out, we bring it out again, and then
That's the lesson right there for everybody watching the stream. That basically just go back to your January, February playlist,
Just go
man.
to your February history and you'll be fine, bro.
But we gotta end the show. Again, give it up one more time for our special guests, CUTSWELL, EU, Cash, Shecky Green, and DJ Sun.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Next week's episode is going to be the season finale for our podcast. It's our 10th episode next week, so we're going to take a little short break after the episode, but we'll be back next week. Tune in as we chat with Cosmo Baker, artist DJ Tara, and back again is our good friend DJ Bonix. We're going to talk about DJs and artists using their platforms for activism, so it's a hot button topic right now, so don't miss it. You can watch the replay of this live show on our Facebook and YouTube channels. New episodes are uploaded every Monday to Apple, Spotify, Mixcloud, wherever you consume and listen to all things podcasts. So be sure to subscribe and rate us. We appreciate the support and love from y'all. Again, this show is presented to you by Beat Refinery DJ School at Bach to Rock. If you want to learn how to mix, scratch, and make music, visit beatrefinery.com with locations nationwide. We'll see you all next week. Keep wearing a mask, wash those hands, be nice to one another, and spread some love. Everybody say peace. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.
Thank you.